quite honestly, their superstars produced. St. Louis produced. Henrik Lundqvist produced. Richards produced. Bertuzzo played well. That's his name. And our guys didn't. But if you look at the series we've won under Bylsma, other than the Stanley Cup run, Ottawa twice. First time their defense played over its head for the entire series. Second time we pounded them because we were better. Islanders, again, pounded them only because we were better. They played a better series, though, than we did. And then you look at the other series that was against... I'm trying to think of who it was. Oh, yeah, there's one against Columbus. Yeah, significantly inferior teams. Let me put it this way. When you get into the playoffs and you're playing against significantly inferior opponents and you're not beating the living shit out of them, something's up here. When I was playing tennis back in my junior days, and I was playing, either in tournaments or sections for my high school or whatever, when I went against somebody that I knew that I was better than, when I played against them, my goal was not to beat them. My goal was to beat them and to get it done, to get it taken care of, to do whatever it takes to get the best result possible in the quickest amount of time. Honestly, if you're an athlete, you should be looking for an easy kill. You should be looking to be like an eagle swooping in on its prey whenever you have a lead, any kind of lead against an inferior opponent. Penguins don't know how to do that. They get these 3-goal leads and they think they're just insurmountable. Then Fleury gives up 2 goals in like 10 minutes and all of a sudden it's a hockey game. Unacceptable. Really is unacceptable. The more I think about it, I do think Shiro should probably stay. But I think Bylsma does need to go. I did read a report today. I'm trying to find it right now. It's on the report is on CBS Sports, and the article was done by Brian Stubitz, and the report it goes report: Bylsma lost the dressing room. Owners favor change. Ownership believed Bylsma lost the dressing room this season, specifically the support of franchise centers Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Players were unhappy with Bylsma numerous meetings and long practices and the decreasing sense of fun within the Penguins' daily environment. Crosby and Malkin also grew disenchanted with the perceived harsh criticism they received from Bylsma during meetings. Now, if Crosby and Malkin in the regular season were not producing, which Malkin was to an extent and Crosby definitely was, hell, he won the Art Ross by like 20 points, why is there a need to be calling people out like that? It's humiliation. It's not, trying to psych your team. It's humiliation. And I'm for pulling a player aside and talking to him. I'm not in favor of public humiliation because basically you are undressing your own player in front of your teammates. And the captain, to do it to the captain, that's wrong. If the reports are correct. Now, assuming they were, that would explain a lot of things. That would explain why Malkin's not scoring a lot. That would explain why he's kind of playing inside of a shell. That would explain why this team doesn't seem to have near the kind of excitement that you would normally expect. That would explain a lot of things about this roster in itself if the reports are true. Now, going forward for the Penguins, what I think they should do is I think they should be looking for a coach that has had success on the offensive side of the puck. That has had success with teams that scored a lot of goals. I'm talking about players that, coaches that were really good with offensive players. And there really aren't too many guys out there I'm trying to think of off the top of my head that could really come in and be a good replacement. I mean, think about it. Crosby Malkin on the bad side of 25. They don't have that many years left. You want to get them wins and you want to get them a cup now. You don't want to be waiting 5, 6, 7 years to finally put together a product. I mean, honestly, the Penguins should have 2 cups probably right now, probably 3 with this roster. Then again, Bosma's not the source of the problems. Fleury's had his ups and downs. Crosby and Malkin have been inconsistent in the postseason. But these reports of how inconsistent, of how Bosma's been, the long meetings, you don't need to overdo it as a coach. You really don't. You need to let your players play. You look at the other teams in the NHL. The best teams. Joe Quenneville in Chicago is probably one of the best 2 or 3 coaches in the league. Claude Julien at Boston. Daryl Sutter for the LA Kings. They let their players play. Dustin Brown, the captain for the Kings. Jonathan Toews, the captain for the Blackhawks. And Zdeno Chara, as much as I dislike him, the captain from the Bruins. They all are really, really, very, very much in control of the game. You don't get that sense from Crosby. You don't get the sense from him that he's the guy in charge on the ice. You get the sense that it's more or less Bylsma trying to talk through him. If that's the case, why not just make Bylsma the captain? I just feel that this team has disappointed us so much. But if you look at the rap sheet, you look at the roster and think, man, this team should have a couple cups. Let's put it this way. This team doesn't have near the heart. This team doesn't have near the team chemistry. That if you look at the last few teams that have won the cups in numerous years, the Blackhawks, the Red Wings, the Devils, when they had their runs, they were a team in every part of the sense of the word. They didn't have any guys that really, stuck out. They really stood out and were scoring everything. Even Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, when they won their Conn Smythes, they weren't scoring a whole lot. They really weren't scoring that much more than their team around them. And if you look at the Penguins, their team is so top heavy, and the rest of the guys are so average. They don't seem to have that kind of team chemistry that a lot of the other teams do. And I think that may be a team thing, not just a coach thing. But still, when you analyze everything, I think Bylsma does need to go. He really does. Great tenure in Pittsburgh, one of the best coaches in Penguins history. We need another voice in there. We do. I don't know who'd be a good replacement for him. But at this point, somebody needs to come in. As for that roster, I'd say if you're the new coach, I think you need to give Crosby and Malkin more control on the ice. Particularly Crosby. And tell Crosby, this isn't our team. This is your team. You lead them. If you look at some of the great captains in history of the NHL, Mario Lemieux, Mark Messier, the way that they led their teams to their titles. Mark Messier pretty much was the heart and soul of that Rangers team in '94. Mario Lemieux was the heart and soul of the Penguins during their cup runs, and even later on when they were making the playoffs still, when he was coming off leukemia. Crosby, I don't feel that I get that kind of warrior, I'm going to put the team on my back. I've never really seen any of those kind of performances from Crosby. He'll score these fantastic goals every once in a while, so you're reminded of his greatness. But in reality, over the long haul, he's not. I don't know if I really can say anymore that he's the best hockey player on the planet. And I wouldn't be saying that about 2 weeks ago. I'd be saying, oh, he's absolutely. After this like this and seeing the kind of track record of Crosby in the playoffs, I'm not really sure what to believe anymore. Should he still say the captain of the Pens and still be here? Yeah. Let's just be clear here. This team underachieved. This team has underachieved drastically. 4-5 in Stanley Cup playoff series ever since Bylsma and us won the cup. And other than the one against Tampa Bay, we've had Crosby and Malkin for every single one of them. So if you take that away, we're 4-4 in playoff series with Crosby and Malkin under Bylsma ever since we won the cup. 8-4 if you count the cup. That's just not going to get it done. You just look at the other teams in the NHL and why they're doing so much better in the playoffs. The Kings, the Blackhawks, the Bruins. They win because they're a team. They win because they're tough. They win. They don't win because one or two guys just dominate everything. They win because the entire team as a whole can get it done. And the Penguins, again, you've got 4 or 5 guys that can go the length of the ice any time. But you don't have 4 or 5 guys together cohesively. You don't have the kind of roster that these other teams do. So to sum things up, Bausma needs to go. I think Shiro should still stay. But I do think that when they do pick the next coach, I think that Crosby and Malkin should have all the input in the world on who they pick. Bausma's magic may have worked his first year. And if you count the Stanley Cup playoffs and the games that he coached in the regular season, he was 34-11-1. That's very impressive. But again, in individual games, playoff games under Dan Bausma, since they won the cup, let's do the math here. They're 27 and 27 and 27 in playoff games. That's dead even. Not the numbers you need. So yeah, in a sense, this team is not built for the playoffs with the way their roster's put together. With the guys and the talent, you'd think they can win 3 cups in a row. But it's not to be. I don't know what to suggest other than that, but all I'm saying is, some changes do need to be made.